I'm Minnie Roh. After a turbulent year of enduring a pandemic and witnessing an epic rise in violent attacks against Asian Americans across the country, it appears to have galvanized an unprecedented number of Asian American Pacific Islanders to run for office in New York City, in every race from city council to the mayor.
It's the dawn of a new era for Asian American Pacific Islander political hopefuls in New York City. A record number of AAPI have thrown their hat into the ring. Two candidates, Art Chang and Andrew Yang, are running for mayor. Two are running for city comptroller. And in the city council races across all 5 boroughs, 43 out of the 227 candidates, or 19%, are Asian American.
You're seeing folks who are new to the system, if you were, to the political system, who have really been mobilized into activism. So they might be someone, I'm not going to name names, but who come from, business, right? Or come from another industry completely.
Vivian Louie is the director of the Asian American Studies Program and Center at Hunter College and a professor of urban policy and planning. She says what we're seeing unfold in the political scene in New York City is of historic proportions.
This is long overdue, long overdue. We know from reports that were released in 2017 and thereabouts that if you're not at the table like that, just change is not going to happen.
While there have always been AAPI candidates running for local office, what sets this election apart is the sheer number of AAPI candidates running against each other, and in districts with high concentration of Asian Americans. In District 20, which includes the heavily Asian populated area of Flushing, 7 out of the 8 candidates are Asian American. The same thing is happening in District 23, where 5 out of the 7 candidates are AAPI, and in District 25, where there are 4 Asian Americans out of 8 candidates.
We have never questioned if there are multiple white candidates for the same seat. I don't think we should think about it as a divide and conquer in the sense of, dividing the vote. I think people should really reflect hard about what the issues are and where the candidates stand and who can do the best job of representing them.
In the race for mayor, Andrew Yang has been jockeying for front-runner position for months leading up to the primaries in June. If he wins the primary, he could be on track to become the first Asian American mayor in New York City history. But Louie says the explosion of AAPI candidates on the scene didn't just happen overnight.
This is a moment that's been, I would say, 5 to 7 years in the making, as you've had kind of grassroots mobilization amongst Asian Americans in New York City in response to what they have seen as the invisibility of their group, that they haven't really been seen. They haven't really been heard.
Equally as important to the equation is voter turnout. Erica Fu is an education organizer with Rank the Vote NYC and says the more voters turn out to support the AAPI candidates, the more it will inspire others to toss their hat into the ring when the time comes.
Representation matters, and seeing someone who looks like you in that office will encourage and inspire other people to run for office too, because then it won't seem like it's something impossible to achieve.
Voter education is particularly important this year because for the first time, New York City is rolling out ranked choice voting. Currently, 22 jurisdictions across 12 states use ranked choice voting, which means voters can rank their top 5 candidates in order of preference. Supporters of ranked choice voting say it levels the playing field and ensures the candidate with the broadest support wins. But critics say it's confusing for the voter and without enough education could disenfranchise those who are already at a disadvantage.
A lot of voters need to know how this process works, and especially the New Yorkers who don't speak English, we need an extra push in getting minority outreach and ethnic outreach out there.
Fu and Louie say this is a turning point for Asian Americans in New York City politics and brings the community one step closer to more representation by politicians who truly understand their needs.
It is incumbent on us to really get out there and have our voices heard and be seen. So we need to vote and let the politicians and elected officials know that we matter and we have a really, strong voting bloc here.
At the end of the day, that's what Asian Americans, voters, political, community leaders, community activists, that's what they're calling for. That's why they're saying this is their moment. Because they want people who are in office who represent them, who don't just come when the votes are going to be counted and say, hey, we need your votes, we need your fundraising.
New York City's first Asian American councilperson was John Liu, who won his seat in 2001. He ran against two other Asian American candidates to represent District 20 in Queens. I'm Minnie Roh for Asian American Life.